Greetings and welcome to the Hungarian History Podcast. I'm your host, Szántai Gábor. This is the 27th episode since April. For centuries, the story of Hungary has been written not only within its borders, but also across the globe. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the full, sweeping narrative of our nation. From the medieval kings to the everyday heroes whose choices shaped our world. But a vital part of the story lives in the voices of those who left. Their memories, their struggles, and their legacies are a crucial piece of who we are. This is the only English language podcast that actively seeks out and amplifies the stories of the global Hungarian diaspora. We are building a living archive, one voice at a time, to preserve the family histories that bind us all together. So whether your ancestors left a century ago or you are a child of 1956, your story is our history, and it is the place to tell it. In today's episode, we continue our Voices of 56 series with part 6, bringing you powerful testimonies from the remarkable guests who built new lives in Canada and Belgium. This is Szántai Gábor, and this is the Hungarian History Podcast. And I have two guests now from Canada. And Marcela is the first, and her dear mother. Hi, Marcela.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you today?
Fine, thank you. And you?
And my mother is with me as well. Wonderful. Janet Voris is here, my mom.
Okay, what is her
Hi.
name? Hello.
Janet.
Janet. Hello, Janet. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that we could meet. And where are you located in Canada?
Well, on Vancouver Island, in a town called Chemainus. We're on the west coast
That's far away.
of Vancouver Island. Yes.
And where are you from Hungary?
Kaposvár. Yep.
Kaposvár.
My husband was born in Potolom, but
Yes.
he lived in Kaposvár. That's where the family moved to, yes.
Okay. God, that's a very nice place. So could you please just tell me your story to our listeners? Because it is quite a story, isn't it?
It is, and this is Janet speaking. I have written it. It's I don't know how many minutes of talk you want.
Oh, we have about 20 minutes now.
Oh, well, I could read the escape story if you like.
As you wish.
Would you like that?
Yeah, if you want to, please, okay, do that.
Okay, and then you can certainly ask questions afterwards if you'd like us to share anything else. But yes, we are here today to represent my dad, Julius Voris,
Yes.
Eula, and this is his story. And so my mom is going to read it to you now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, all right. On October 21st, 1956, my mom and I went to the Opera House in Kaposvár to see Darin, a Hungarian musical. My violin teacher, Dr. Siranye, was the first violinist in the orchestra. It was meant to be an enjoyable evening, but midway through the performance, to our amazement, an announcer came out on the stage to say that an uprising of students had started in Budapest. Everyone left the concert and hurried home. A week later, Russian tanks rolled into Budapest to occupy the city. Russians were now stationed at all the major government offices. There was also a Hungarian protest in Kaposvár, my hometown. 3 students were killed and many injured. Our house was very close to a park where some of the action was happening. The gunfire kept me awake all night. The next morning, my mom insisted that I go to work at the butcher shop, a long walk from our home. As I stepped out the front door, bullets whizzed past my head. A man rode by on his bicycle and was shot and killed on the street outside our house. Later on that day, I helped remove the dead man from our street. I was very upset with my mother for insisting that I go to work, considering the situation in our town. So that day, I decided to leave my homeland. Later that afternoon, I went to the soccer field behind the apartment. I found a rifle leaning up against a tree. I decided to take it home and hide it in the basement. If the Russian soldiers found out that I had a gun, they would shoot me right in my home. I had just completed my butcher apprenticeship, and I mentioned to my boss, Steve, that I was thinking about leaving Hungary. He said he would support me however he could. I got in touch with my best friends, TB and Yanshi, who lived in Patalom, where I was born, February 29th, 1940. I told them that I was going to leave Hungary. They both wanted to come with me. We planned to meet to determine our escape route. After a couple of meetings, we decided to leave on a Friday morning and take the bus to Nagykanizsa. Friday morning, December 7th, 1956, we met at the bus stop, climbed aboard, and headed toward the border, and hopefully freedom. All the major routes were manned by Russian soldiers checking ID. Our plan was to tell the guards that we were going to see our grandmother for the weekend. At Nagykanizsa, we got off the bus, trying to avoid the armed soldiers. We headed toward the border, stopping at houses along the way to ask for directions. Some people sent us away, others let us stay in their barns. We didn't really know our way, so we kept asking for directions. We traveled at night to avoid the Russian tanks. We were tired, cold, and very hungry. The sausage my boss had given us was long gone. Just before the last border town, we saw a house with lights on. We went to ask for directions, but as we entered the house, I saw a gun hanging by a policeman's coat. I thought this might be the end of the road for us, but he looked at us and said, "You turn around and walk out of my house and just keep going like you were never here." So we walked away toward Rabofezesh, the last town before the border. We stopped at the last house in Rabofezesh. We would take our chances again. The gate was open and we saw an elderly man shoeing a horse. I said good evening and asked him if he could help us with directions to the border crossing. I said, "We have no money and no food." He shouted, "What the hell do you think you're doing? You want to get out of Hungary with nothing when others have been selling their homes and all their possessions just to get out of the country? You 3 get in the house for dinner." After supper, he told us he would try to help us if he could, but it would be very dangerous. He explained that he had to drive his horses to the border to deliver a load of hydro poles. But I drove the horses, and he went on ahead to see if he knew the guards at the bridge. TB gave him a watch to bribe the guards. If he knew the guards, he would wave at us to come ahead. He did wave at us to come, and we crossed the bridge without a problem. Before the man left with his wagon full of hydro poles, he warned us to watch out for the Russian guards in lookout towers. We found an empty hut where we sheltered for a while, listening to crying babies and gunshots from the distant towers. We walked on until we got to the Pinkel River. The river was deep and rushing, as it was a snowy, cold December 12th. I counted to 3 and we jumped into the freezing water and swam for our lives. We crawled out of the river and ran through the forest. We could hardly see for the dense fog. We were freezing cold, covered in mud, and starving. After what seemed like a very long time, we arrived in a small Austrian town where the Red Cross were waiting for refugees. They welcomed us, gave us food, clothes, and shoes. They also gave us a small suitcase so that we could take things with us. I was fascinated by the beautiful Christmas decorations in the town, walking the streets many times to take it all in. We stayed in a theater in Austria until January. Later, we were bused to another Austrian town where we had to sign a contract to go to Cowdenbeath, Scotland, to train as coal miners. I felt very homesick. What have I done? In Scotland, we stayed in some barracks and went to school each day to learn English. As soon as we knew enough English, we would go down into the coal mines. The Scottish people were very kind to us, and so we developed friendships quickly. While I was in Cowdenbeath, 2 people from the Hungarian embassy came to see me. They wanted me to go back to Hungary at my mother's request. I declined, knowing what would happen if I went back. I had a new plan. April 21st, 1957. Leading up to Easter, I decided to leave Scotland and go to London, England by myself. I took the train to London, a 6-hour overnight ride. When I arrived, I went to the first police station to ask where the Hungarian refugees were being housed. They sent me on a bus to Detling, an Air Force base not far from London. I went into the office at Detling to sign in, but they had no information about me. They were not pleased that I had arrived without any information ahead of time, and there were too many Hungarians there already. But they realized that I was young and what would happen to me if I was sent back to Hungary. They finalized my paperwork in 3 days and told me it would take months before I was shipped out. I said if I couldn't get out on the first flight, I would go back to Hungary with my ticket from that my mom had sent me. I spent many days playing ping pong in the camp at Detling. But early in May, I found myself on the first flight out of Detling. I was heading to Canada. When I arrived in Regina, I went to the welfare office to receive $6 a week. My rent was $10 a month. The reception was a far cry from that of the Scottish people. Hard times in Canada, but I survived. Canada became my home with many more adventures to share. A new beginning. Elendoltam Szép Hazámból.
Wow.
The end.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful and very, very touching story that you have said and exciting.
Gabor?
Yes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gabor, could you give me the exact translation of the Elendoltam Szép Hazámból? I know some of it, but I never get it quite right.
Okay, I am going to send you the sound
what
of
is
the lyrics.
Elendoltam?
Elindultam, szép hazámból. I have set out from my beautiful home. So I have set out from my beautiful home. Homeland.
Okay, thank you very much. I wasn't quite sure what that is.
I am going to send you the lyrics, okay?
Oh,
a little bit later.
Thank you. Yeah.
You are very welcome. It's a very nice song, and your story has been very exciting. Thank you very much for telling it us, and please, could you tell us some words that what does it mean to you, this whole adventure, which was more than an adventure?
Well, it certainly was more than an adventure. Well, it meant that I met Joel. He left Regina and came to Victoria, and I was teaching in Victoria, and that's where I met him, in Victoria. And soon after that I met him, we got married. We just went together for about a year, and then we got married, and then we went back to Hungary. The following year, we went back, and we stayed in Hungary and Austria for 2 years. And actually, we had our baby, Marcella, who you've spoken to. We had her there in Austria. She was born in Eisenstadt.
Wow, that's very interesting. So Marcella was born in Austria, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was. She was, and she spent the first month of her being born, she was in the Vienna Kinderklinik because she was very small. She was only 4 pounds when she was born. So they took her into Vienna.
And then you returned to
but
Canada.
Here I am.
Then you returned, all of you, to Canada.
Yes, and we returned. Yeah, and I continued with my teaching, and Julius did all kinds of things. But one of the most important things he did was he was a nurse. He worked in different hospitals, nursing, and his last position was working with handicapped children in the school system here.
Yes.
Which he loved very, very much. She was a very excellent nurse.
That's very nice.
Gabor?
Yes, I am here.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to answer that question also about what all of this regarding my dad means to me, if that's okay.
Please, yes, it is very important.
That's it.
Okay, yes. As his daughter, this story and his stories have been an immense source of pride for myself. I fully understand the magnitude of everything that happened and came into place for my dad to end up here, and quite frankly, I'm aware of the fact that if none of this had come into place, or if one piece of the puzzle had come apart, I very well wouldn't be here. I mean, I think about his travels. He was only 16 years old, walking for days to get to that border to escape, risking death the whole way through, and the struggles and coming out of Hungary and missing his family and his friends, the other two that joined him to escape, ended up going back home. And the chance, my dad had the opportunity to take the very first flight out of Scotland, and it may not have been Canada. There were other options, including Australia and whatnot. And the fact that he ended up in Canada, and he started out in Ontario and managed to work his way across. He worked very hard. As the story said, Canada was not that welcoming. He had some pretty tough struggles with people discriminating against him, not paying him. It was not easy, and he ended up working his way to Saskatchewan, and despite all of that, he prospered in Saskatchewan and became a Golden Gloves boxing champion, and that's a whole nother story. And then ended up over here on the West Coast, and so all these bits and pieces of his story, all these struggles and things that he accomplished and overcame, and the reason that he managed to do all this is the very reason why I am even alive today. So it's not lost on me that this story is not only fantastic, but it's incredible. And
it is incredible, Marcella. It is absolutely incredible, but I believe you, of course. And I wonder what you think of Hungary now. So would you like to return?
Oh, yes, we are going to return this coming summer. We want to take the children, Marcella's children, my grandchildren. They haven't been to Hungary, and they're very anxious to go to Hungary. We still have some relatives there. Our sister-in-law, niece, and nephew are there. And
others as well,
and some others in Patalone, and I loved Hungary, and I love the Hungarian people. And just a little aside, our neighbor just got back from Budapest and other Germany, etc. But the place they liked the best was Hungary and the people.
Budapest,
yeah.
I am very happy to hear that, so we might meet here.
Oh, yeah. Are you in Budapest?
Yes, I am. I am here in Budapest, but I have been to Canada as well, and it's a beautiful place, and it is the best country I have ever seen. I spent a few years in the United States.
We are lucky to be here, absolutely.
You are very lucky, and it's wonderful people and very nice place. Well, I don't know much about the West Coast, but I'm sure that must be very nice.
The West Coast is Very, very beautiful.
If you ever decide to come, you should let us know.
Are there any?
Oh yes. There's a Hungarian club in Victoria and a Hungarian club in a town called Nanaimo, up the island. Yeah. If you look on a map, you'll see our Vancouver Island. It's an island, and it's a big island, but
it is a pretty big one.
Just off the coast. It's just off the coast.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that you have told me these stories, and I think everybody was learning from your story and enjoyed it. And I thank you again for being part of this podcast. And please spread the word, because I need to tell the world all the personal stories, because there is no such a podcast which would preserve these stories. But these should be preserved. I guess.
And they need to. Yes, they do. They need to be heard, because the young people, the young people here have no idea, But Marcella always wanted to know, and the grandchildren know. And my husband used to sit the two children, when they were even quite little, sit on his lap, and he would tell the story in a way that wouldn't scare, little children, but he would tell the story, and then as they got older, he added more things, so they knew the whole story.
Gabor, may I add a few more things?
Yes, please.
First of all, I'd like to let you know that the anniversary of my dad's escape is coming up very quickly on December 12th, 1956. It's 69 years this year since he escaped, and we always celebrate it on the 12th. And I forever am grateful that my dad was happy to share this story every year or any other time we asked, because it wasn't exactly a source of comfort for him. It was a very painful time for him. And I know other people who've got relatives in different situations, and they've never known the history of their family because the relatives didn't want to talk about it.
Or even change their names.
Yeah, so I really love and appreciate that my dad has been willing to share his stories repeatedly over the years, so that they're comfortable for us. And actually, my children and I mentioned this to you yesterday, I think, are going for our Hungarian citizenship and our passports, which we're hoping to have organized and done in 2026. So we're excited about that. Being a citizen is important to me, as half my blood is of Hungarian heritage, and it's just something I would like to do to honor my dad. And I did mention to you I wanted to read. I've got a few poems, but I just wanted to read the first poem that I ever wrote dedicated to my dad, which is framed up here in my parents' home, and I would love to share it with you if I can.
I am very honored to listen to it. Please share it with us.
All right. Here we go. Okay. There was a young man who escaped in a war. He succeeded with death, knocking at his door. Bullets rang out as he sped across the river. Adrenaline rushing, he felt no December shiver. Freedom at last and out of harm's way, with nothing but the clothes he'd worn that day. To begin a new life at just sweet 16, and without his mother, how close they had been. Far from home with nowhere to go, this young man set out in the cold winter snow. Most teen boys just party and drink, but with no home or food, this one had to think. He had to be quick, learn what the boss wanted, and hold his head high, despite being taunted. He'd work many days, long hours with no break, only to find out there was no money to take. Broke, there were times when he stole food to eat, and had to take refuge on a vehicle seat. He did not give up, lie down, and start crying. This man had great strength, and just kept on trying. Even without family by his side, no one could strip this one of his pride. He saved up some money, left Europe behind, to come to Canada and see what he could find. He worked very hard and had little rest. To his friends and customers he became the best. I'm sure he was tempted, the drinks, girls, and things, but he never resorted to such foolish flings. He headed west, took a quick ferry cruise. Strathcona needed bartenders for booze. It was there that he saved money like no other. It was there he told friends he would marry my mother. They decided to wed after 1 year of dating. Flew back to Europe, where his mum's arms were waiting. It had been 12 years since they'd seen each other's eyes, and 1 more year till they heard my baby cries. Because he endured, my life came to be. Does he know I'm so proud this father belongs to me? He's lived through a lot, survived more than most, yet he rarely got angry, he just held me close. I look up to this man. What I say is I'm glad that I am his daughter, and he is my dad.
Excellent. Congratulations. It was beautiful. So
Thank you.
it was lovely, and I am very happy that thousands of people can hear it and take courage from your story and your mom and dad's fantastic story. And I thank you very much for being part of this podcast. And now I have to say goodbye because we have another guest here. Yes, usually.
Well, thank you very much, Gabor, for having us. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to share this, and yes, thank you.
I thank you. I thank you. It was my pleasure. I was honored, and it was a Hungarian History Podcast. Goodbye to you.
Goodbye. Take care.
Hello, Rita. This is Gabor. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi. Hi. Nice just to meet you as well, even if it's only with the audio.
Please tell me, Rita, where are you from?
That's a very difficult question. I was 5 when I left Hungary. Then I studied in England, then a little bit in Switzerland, then a little bit in Spain, Paris, and now I'm from Belgium. So you take your pick.
And where are you from? From Hungary.
That's quite difficult. My mother, I lived with my mother and my grandmother. My mother was a doctor and a dentist in Budapest, in Buda, actually. We lived under the Budavár on Attila utca. After the revolution, or during the revolution rather, my mother said to me that we were going to visit my grandparents who lived in the country. So one evening we got onto a lorry where there were a whole lot of other people already in there, families mainly, and off we went. On the road, supposedly to my grandparents, there were Russian soldiers who came to check the papers, and at each stop there was a few people who were let off the lorry. So practically, when we got to the the Austrian border, there were practically only my mother, my grandmother, and I who were in the lorry. So we spent a couple of days at a farm there, because there were 2 brothers who were supposed to be taking us across the border, but they said that there were too many mines that had been laid by the Russians, and they weren't going to take the risk of taking us. In the end, one of them did, so we set out late in the evening. The Russians were shooting light rockets over the border, and we had to lie down flat on our tummies, not to be seen. We managed to make it in the end, after having crossed a little stream and having spent an hour or so in a shed with sheep and cows, just to get warmed up and rest a little bit. Then we got to Austria.
And how much of the story can you remember?
Well, I can't remember all that much of it. I can remember when we got to the end, that I got some hot chocolate and I was sitting on top of an upright piano. Well, at 5 years old, it's not much, but anyway. And then, as my mother was a doctor and a dentist, she was offered a post in not in Austria but in Switzerland, but she didn't want to go there. She wanted to go to the United States, where she had some friends who had already left. But unfortunately, there were no more aeroplanes leaving for the United States, so we ended up in London. But it was very good anyway, for a while. And as my mother had to work to try and make us live with my grandmother, we were sent to an old people's home in the south of England, and she stayed in London as a maid in the hotel. And then after about a year or so, she was allowed to practice as a dental surgeon. And then we started our life in a one-room flat in London.
It must have been very hard for her.
It was very hard for her. For her, it was very hard, yes. Yes. And for my grandmother, because we didn't speak English, none of us. So we learned as we went along, and I went to school as well. I learned English at school. So that was quite good. That was good. And then afterwards, well, my mother was working as a dentist in the end. She became actually the dentist of the Hungarian embassy in London. And so she went to several functions that had been organized there. So she kept up the contacts with Hungarians.
Did you go back to Hungary?
And I think the first time we went home to Hungary was in, 57, in about 59 or 60. We went home to Hungary for the first time. I think so, yes. Well, I can't remember very well. So I was 9, so I think it was like that, yes. Because we got the British nationality as soon as possible. And so after that, we were able to visit Hungary. But it was very difficult getting in and out of the border with the soldiers checking everything in the car and the luggage and going through all the books, even leafing through everything to check out how things were. And all the children in Hungary, once we did get through, because we went by car, once we did get through, there were children running after our car, because it was an English car. And so we bought chewing gum and biros to throw out of the window to the children who were following us.
Could you meet your relatives?
Oh, yes, because I was going to see my relatives that I hadn't seen for a long time. So that was very good. I enjoyed that. And after that, practically every year, I went to spend my summer holidays in Hungary with my grandparents who lived in Gorzog. Looking back, actually, for as a 5-year-old child, at that time, it didn't really mean that much. But afterwards, my mother told me stories of how we'd been hiding in the cellars, that I do remember a little bit of we had to run down to the cellars. But she told me afterwards, when I was a little bit older, that the Russian soldiers had got into one of the buildings next to us and shot everyone in the cellars. So I don't know if that was true. I think so. But if my memory serves me correctly, then that's how it was. But so it was just under the castle in Buda.
And how did it change your life?
It completely changed everything. Although my mother was very disappointed, she said if she had known what it was like in England, she would never have left Hungary. But maybe she was just a little bit depressed because she was very old. She told me that in about 2005.
So you spent a long time in France, right?
Yes, that's right. That's where I spent about 30 years in France, in Paris.
Thank you very much, Rita, for telling this for us. I was very happy to have you here. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Gabor. You're very welcome. Thank you. Bye.
And that concludes this episode of the Hungarian History Podcast. My deepest thanks to our guests for sharing their incredible stories with us. As we move forward, our mission to preserve these voices continues to grow. If you or someone you know has a story of Hungarian emigration from any era in history, I would be profoundly honored to hear it. Your family's journey is a vital thread in the rich tapestry of our shared heritage. You can reach out to me directly through our Facebook page or website. If you enjoy this journey through history, please subscribe to the podcast on Substack or your favorite podcast platform. Share it with your friends and family, especially those who might see their own story reflected in these conversations. A special thank you to our patrons on Patreon and those who support us with a cafe. Your contributions make this ongoing project of preservation possible. Until next time, köszönöm szépen for listening. Let's continue to preserve our legacy together. It was Szántai Gábor and the Hungarian History Podcast. Goodbye, a viszonthallásra, sziasztok!